You're listening to the Big Chill Podcast. This is episode 29, the election special. Vote for me, brother! Hello, Big Chillites, and happy belated Halloween. I bring that up solely because I was disappointed we didn't talk about it last episode, because I really like to mention probably the only time I've really dressed up for Halloween as an adult and the most epic time I've ever dressed up for Halloween as an adult. And that was when Eddie and I were the Village People. So Eddie, want to give us a little background? Because I'm sure you remember it better than I do.
I'm not sure that's saying much. Yeah, it was one of our best. Well, it was the only time we've had I think it's the only time in my life I've been part of a group costume, actually.
I've been like once or twice else, but nothing of that extent.
Yeah, and we all put in like quite a lot of effort in the setup. It was kind of at least a solid month's preparation into everyone's costumes. So like, I was the biker. Our friend Tim was the sailor. He had a very good 1940s U.S. sailor outfit on.
Fit him to a T. And I don't mean like the size fit him, just like
the size type of person too.
The type of person he is with the type of sailor costume he had was very good.
Yeah. Abe had a very interesting cowboy costume on.
Abe.
Yeah. No, it was good. I mean, we were probably one person short. So yeah, it was a shame we couldn't round off the group, but
it's a shame Sam couldn't join us. He could have been the sexy Indian.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you said sexy. That was
everyone was sexy. It was implied. We won a competition too. Remember, we went to that house party, that bizarre house party.
And great! Can we describe that bizarre house party? That was one of the first off. Before we even got there, we were trekking to this random apartment house party, and we came upon a construction zone that happened to be open. And we proceeded to climb in and start climbing on top of all the heavy machinery and taking pictures.
Yeah, we got a great picture on top of a digger, which was just perfect. And then, a friend of mine was running this company where they threw private parties, and they were doing this special Halloween party at this venue they had, which was this kind of abandoned warehouse space that they'd converted into this like party space. So it was kind of
hipster
weird
kind of party space.
Yeah, it was like multiple stories. It had like weird trampolines kind of within it at different moments that once you were on became incredibly hard to get off. Like as soon as you stepped into the middle, it took ages to get off the edge of them. But it was just kind of weird thing.
Yeah, one of them was like, it was almost a 10-foot by 10-foot kind of like mesh rope thing. Like if you imagine those things that you would climb in a playground, where it's like the cross-stitch ropes, but instead you had to like step on them and try and balance your way on these. And there's a great video of Abe just failing miserably to do this for like 3 minutes, where he kind of almost got stuck in the middle and was like rolling around as other people were getting it on. It would like shift the weight, and he would like roll to the one side and then roll back. It was
one of those things that in like the concept of it was really fun, and when you looked at it, you thought it was going to be a lot of fun to get on. But then it was just really difficult to actually manage yourself.
It's like your worst nightmare.
Yeah, you didn't look graceful at all. No matter who you were, like even if you were super coordinated and balanced, it was just a complete nightmare, particularly once anyone else stepped onto it. And so it was just the perfect way to make a complete fool of yourself at a party. Because by the time we got there pretty early, but by the time we left, there were a couple hundred people there. So anyone who was going on there was having a solid group of people just watching them just embarrass themselves.
And I remember I was the construction worker, and I had to ruin a pair of jeans so I could short my jeans.
No, you didn't have to, but you chose to.
Yeah,
let's be clear.
You can't be a sexy construction worker without short jeans.
And similarly, I ruined my Amazon suggested purchases because I bought a real leather vest, like a real leather biker cap, biker leather gloves with like metal studs on them, leather chaps.
Assless leather chaps.
Assless leather chaps.
Oh god. Yeah, not redundant. All chaps are assless. And then literally for the next 5 or 6 months, everything Amazon recommended to me was relating to the fact that I might be a gay biker.
Just imagine
And it turns out you're just not a biker. That's a good one.
Like, I could just imagine him buying like an Xbox game, and it would be like, "We think you'd like this latex whip."
Oh no, honestly, I remember because obviously it was Halloween, and then a few weeks later, I was buying like Christmas presents for my family. So I was ordering like books and stuff, and all just various things. And it would be like, you just purchased this like Bill Bryson book. You might also be interested in this leather whip. It's just like, okay.
Anal beads.
Yeah. Nipple tassels.
Well, I already had those.
Do you still have
Because-
the outfits?
See, I'm actually really disappointed with myself because I lost everything over multiple moves now. I've just slowly.
You mean, wait. When you lost everything, do you mean just in your life? Like you've lost internet, you've lost all your gambling money,
Yeah,
Self-respect, dignity.
yeah, it's all gone, guys.
Yeah, I had the short shorts for a while, and I was like waiting for an opportunity to wear them again, and it just never came about. So eventually, I just tossed them.
I remember the thing I held on to the longest were the leather gloves. I remember having those. Those were kind of in and around my cupboard for maybe 3 years. And then eventually they had to go.
My favorite story from the Halloween 2 is, so Abe was visiting. And for those who don't know Abe, he's quite the character. So he came dressed as like a cowboy and as Eddie said, a very interesting take on a cowboy. So we stayed out all night, and then we happened to like
just to explain his costume. It was like a little kid's cowboy costume made for a grown man. Like it's very bizarre, but it if it's a cowboy, like the cute cowboy playful costume, but then somehow they made it for his size. Like very odd.
Yeah, it's so true. It reminded me of like if you were dressing up as Woody in Toy Story.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Like,
except like an adult Woody. Kind of like that. So he's dressed in full costume, and then we stayed up all night, like, and then we kind of lost each other. So he was getting back to where I was staying at around 7 or 8 in the morning. But the thing about this is, obviously, we're not in the US, so Halloween isn't as big of a deal in Paris as it is in the States. And second of all, it was during the week. So now it's like a Thursday morning, and everyone is in like suits and briefcases boarding the metro to get to work. And here's this asshole hung over with a cowboy outfit on at 8 in the morning trying to get into the metro. And he tells this story of the metro he wanted to go on was closed, and they were instructing people to go around to like the nearest one, which was only like 2 blocks away. But the issue was it was raining, and everyone was confused because, like, for those who've been to Paris, people who ride the metro sometimes are just like sheep and zombies. They like don't understand what's going on. You have to like hoard them away. So he says it's pouring rain, and he's got to get to this next metro, and people are like all flustered and scurrying and like kind of running, and he locks eyes with this guy in a full suit with an umbrella and a briefcase, and they kind of lock eyes and kind of have this unspoken agreement that they're going to run to the train station to see who gets there first. So down the street running, you have this businessman in full business attire with the briefcase running down the street next to an American in a cowboy outfit running down the street. And Abe says he beats him to the thing, yells "America," and hops on the train and gets to where I was staying. It's like the greatest story.
I'd like to see the real version of like those events, because in reality it was probably just a drunken guy in a cowboy suit sprinting for no reason and then yelling "America." Like, probably everything else is just totally imagined.
Yeah, it makes him sound like a bit of a hero in this.
Yeah.
He is a hero.
Like he's somehow
Abe is the average American hero.
I'll also say that I can kind of relate because we met up. I think we met at around 7 o'clock that night. And I took the metro from where I was to the bar we were going at, which was like a 30-minute metro ride. And I got onto the packed kind of rush hour post-work metro. and I was dressed as a biker in full leather with chaps. I'd shaved my face, so I just had a big mustache. I had these leather gloves on, this little biker leather hat, and similarly, the looks that I got from people who clearly had no acknowledgement of the fact that it was Halloween and just thought I was some complete freak, like riding home in my leather outfit.
I also had the same experience getting to the bar on the metro, except mine was ridiculously short jean shorts, a sleeveless unbuttoned flannel, and a construction hat on. So people obviously had some really good insight into who I was.
So did you get any phone numbers from guys that were checking you out, either of you?
And that actually brings me to one other good Halloween story I have that I just realized like 2 or 3 days ago that just shows you how far back the Duca curse goes. I saw a picture that my mom had sent me of me and my best friend. We were dressed up for Halloween. I think it was probably like 7th or 8th grade. And the only thing we would ever really do if we had, like some like mandatory Halloween party for school or something like that, we would just throw on our jerseys. And for this one, we were in matching Patriot jerseys. And I believe this had to be either 1999 or 2000.
Oh, no, hold on. Let me guess. You
take a guess of what jersey I was wearing.
Drew Bledsoe.
Abso-fucking-lutely. 2 weeks into the next season, Drew Bledsoe almost dies on the field, loses his position to Tom Brady, and never is as good as he was again.
Yeah, fundamentally almost never seen or heard of again. Kind of hung around for a little bit, but yeah.
That's how far back the Duca curse goes.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I you know what? And I had completely forgotten about it, and then I was thinking about this story with the Village People, and then that picture popped up into my head of when I had dressed up as like an athlete, and that was the only one I could think of because my friend was Terry Glenn and I was Drew Bledsoe, and that was right around the year 2000.
It has to be said that Duca curse, kind of maybe to bring us onto this weekend's sport, popped up again this week in Frank's one of Frank's bet of the weeks, where it included Pulisic to score anytime goal scorer for Chelsea. Now, fortunately, it ended up not losing. Well, the bet itself lost because Jadon Sancho didn't score for Dortmund. But the Duca curse had no impact on the bet itself because it was voided because in the warm-up he suffered a hamstring injury and is now facing several weeks out. So he'll be very happy that you decided to give him a specific mention on the podcast last week.
Oh, that is such a good one. I hope we can become famous enough that we can bring him on, that I can apologize.
No, I just like the idea that most people will start. The reason we'll get any sort of traction with this podcast is just famous people listening out to you naming them and then being like somehow hoodooed, not wanting to leave the house or anything.
I'm like the Madden curse on steroids.
Yeah. And on a weekly basis, exactly. Yeah. One's annual. You can take people down a couple times a week.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately for him, he's out a few weeks, but unfortunately for me, I got murdered in my bets anyway, so I don't feel too sorry for him.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say we all collectively, not a great week in our picks, and we'll do the full summary on Thursday I'll give you the rundown on how we went because it's not looking very pretty right now, and hopefully I think we've all got the Buccaneers tonight. Oh, actually, I think Frank might have taken the Giants with the points. Like the Bucks to win, but but either way, we desperately. I will say I have had the worst of it. I think I may have surrendered my lead, but it's not a pretty little spreadsheet to look at the moment, and that might bring us on to some.
Well, I was gonna say I could, although the spreadsheet is slightly meaningful to me, it's not a good looking bank account or betting account spreadsheet.
No, you are right. I know which one is more important, but still.
Because
so should we start?
Should we start?
Should we start in some games where we all suffered?
Yeah,
we had quite a few games that we all agreed on, and all lost on. So
do we
let's
have
get
to
it
just
under.
go through our failures here?
Yeah, you know I've done bad when I'm just dead silent in our group chat.
Yeah. Here's the only thing I will say. The only piece of advice that I gave over this weekend that I didn't necessarily listen to myself, but hopefully
Packers.
someone out there did, was
We
do
know.
not throw the Packers into a money
Yep.
line bet. And
That
that
was
turned
one of
out,
my one losses.
yeah, and I'm not going to claim, as I said last week, I'm not going to claim to be right on it because I still picked the Packers and I thought they'd cover the spread. But that at least that little bit of advice turned out to be true. Sadly, it should have also been applied to the Titans. It should have also been applied to the Chargers. It should have also been applied to who else even lost as relatively decent favorites.
The
The Rams.
Yeah, it was a nasty week.
Yeah.
I did think about you, Frank, though, with that teaser bet we discussed for the Chiefs Jets, because the spread that you were teasing was 25.5, wasn't it?
I end up
And they lost
taking
by
the
26.
Chiefs. I end up taking the Chiefs minus 14. But unfortunately, in that one, I avoided Green Bay, avoided the Titans, but had the Rams in there. +3 was the eventual tease, and that did not even come close.
No. And so maybe bring us on to some talking points. I had a few interesting ones from yesterday's games. The Steelers, obviously we've discussed them quite a lot over the course of the season because Frank started not even thinking they're going to make the playoffs. They're in a position now, such a strong position now to be the 1 seed, which potentially could be huge this year because of the expanded playoffs. The 1 seed is the only team with a bye, I believe. So it's a huge thing to have. And they're now kind of they're really in pole position because the Ravens already have 2 losses. They have the head-to-head win against the Ravens. They're obviously going to play each other again on Thanksgiving. Weird game, though, because I fundamentally feel like the Ravens were the better team kind of throughout, and the Steelers just sort of hung in there and then managed to scrape out a win, but didn't look...
Now, I had the opposite view on that, actually.
Interesting.
I thought... Go ahead.
I mean, I don't think Lamar Jackson looked good at all. Bad game for him, that's for sure. Lamar Jackson was the big loser. I mean, the big loser was Lamar Jackson and, surprisingly enough, Harbaugh, because their clock management on that final drive was bizarre. They fundamentally decided at a certain moment in time it was going to come down to one play. They just decided, like, here we go, we'll roll the dice. One play to see we're either going to win the game or lose the game, which wasn't necessary considering they had a couple timeouts and they were like in the Steelers' half on the good, with a 2-minute warning still to come as well. Like, that was very bizarre. But Lamar didn't look good, but I still think kind of odd they broke a record, right? They were the first team in history, in the modern NFL, to have been outrushed by 200 yards and also had been outpassed and won a game.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I guess this is the only good thing I can say that I predicted last podcast was I do not expect a good game out of Lamar Jackson against a good defense, and he did not look good. He fumbled twice, 2 interceptions. He was trying to do his thing where he wanted to take over the game, but the Steelers kind of covered him really well. They didn't allow any huge rushes from him. And that's kind of, I think Eddie and I have both said this before, is why I don't believe in the Ravens, is that I don't believe he's a championship winning QB right now. I mean, maybe he gets better, but this is the type of game that when he gets to the playoffs, these are the type of defenses he's going to be facing. And if he puts up a performance like this, they're not going to win. And that's kind of what happened last year in the playoffs, right?
He also nearly had his receiver in the final play just killed. I mean, in a way, it was a great throw because it was an absolute dart, and he did force it into very tight coverage, but it was a real hospital pass, just setting up, an absolute nightmare I think it was Snead. Not the kind of thing you want to be on the receiving end of.
Now, I will say one thing watching. So I watched the majority of that game, and then I switched over in like the fourth quarter to the Green Bay game because that was also in one of my other bets that then ended up losing. So, and the Steelers weren't actually in my bets, but I kind of want to finally watch them for a game. The thing that bothers me when you watch the Ravens, so there was a call like in the second quarter where Lamar Jackson was rolling out and was running and was by the sidelines and hadn't yet hit the sidelines, but was kind of being wrapped up by the sidelines. And then another Steeler came in and kind of pushed him out of bounds. And they threw an unsportsmanlike conduct on him for like a delayed hit, hitting out of bounds or whatever. And it just really pisses me off because then 6 plays later, Lamar Jackson is doing the same thing. He's rolling out to the sideline and it looks like he's going to step out, but then he like does a little juke move and instead of stepping out, steps back in and kind of around the defender and then goes back out. So it's like one of these things where, okay, if a quarterback's running out of bounds, don't hit him out of bounds. But this is a very special circumstance where it's not like Jared Goff running out of bounds where he's not going to try and get the extra yardage. He purposely tries to pretend like he's going out and then will do like cuts on the sideline to stay in and go around a defender. So how can you call a delayed hit when he wasn't even out of bounds yet? It's such bullshit. And like he gets those calls a lot and that kind of pisses me off. Like if you're going to be a running back who sometimes throws the ball, then he should be treated like one more often. Because if that were a running back, that delayed hit or hit out of bounds would never have been called.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I've got a growing frustration with those kind of interpretive calls in NFL games because if you spend the whole afternoon watching back-to-back games and you just see the different ways in which those kind of rules are interpreted, it becomes so frustrating because you will end up losing both ways almost on exactly the same rule. And on a bad day, it just drives you insane. On a good day, when you maybe benefit from it multiple times in different scenarios, it's amazing. But it can be really frustrating. And I agree with you. We've kind of talked about in the past the frustration with defenders having the late hit on players who are clearly giving themselves up or going to the ground. But then you do have these scenarios where you have quarterbacks clearly kind of manipulating the system either on the sidelines or when they try and slide really, really late, knowing that if the guy doesn't pull out, they're going to get the flag too. And I think there's a handful of quarterbacks who really abuse that. And I feel sorry for the officials in the way because their priority obviously is protecting the players. But it does seem like week in, week out, there are the same people benefiting from it. And then you have the reverse scenario, which kind of, I guess, to move us on to another game. Maybe neither of you saw it. I don't know how much of the Titans-Bengals game you saw. There was a Titans wide receiver who was absolutely murdered on a play.
Yeah, how was that not a call?
And not only, to me, the worst part about it is, at one moment I thought the guy would be dead, but serious risk that he was going to be paralyzed because he was instantly unconscious and he didn't move for a really long time.
I didn't see the hit. What was the hit like? I didn't see it.
He was going across the middle to make a catch and he got kind of simultaneously hit by 2 people right as he was making it and going towards the ground. So he was completely unprotected and then got just hit directly in his head. His head snapped very badly and he was instantly unconscious. Now, the real killer was not only was he then unconscious and out for the game, fortunately he seems fine, like got up and was functional.
Yeah, ask him that 20 years later if he seems fine.
But then they review it, and then because he was unconscious as he fell, he lost control of the ball and it touched the ground. So what had been a huge play for the Titans, it was like a 30-yard pass that had moved them downfield. He doesn't even get the credit. It's like, no, we can't review the penalty, so we can't enforce the penalty after the fact, but we are going to take that play away from you. And there's part of me where it feels like there has to be, even though they've made those kind of things non-reviewable, there has to be a moment where they're like, go to the Bengals sideline and like, look, guys, we're just going to say that was a catch because that guy might be dead. And if his final moment isn't him actually completing a catch, it's going to be really sad.
Well, I mean, the thing that I didn't understand was, yeah, he didn't get the catch, but one, how is it not a call of a hit on a defenseless receiver? Because
it absolutely should have been.
And then 2, how is it just not in general a hit to the head? because a hit to defenseless receiver, it doesn't even have to be like a direct blow to the head. It could be any like super aggressive hit that, you know, they're not expecting that could really injure them, which it was. But then it also was just directly a blow to the head. I mean, the guy hit him right in the head. So how is it not both of them? Like, I understand you can't call both of them, but how is either one of those not the call? For him to get no penalty on that was insane to me.
Yeah,
I don't.
And it was
how do you don't call that and then go on, you know, radio and television and be like, oh, we're really concerned with player safety, so we're cracking down on a lot of things, but you don't call that hit? If you're concerned about player safety, you call a penalty when a guy gets murdered in the middle of the field defenselessly.
Yeah, I mean, I almost feel to a certain degree as an official, if you see a guy is unconscious, I think you almost should just throw the flag, because you just have to assume at that point he's obviously been hit in his head. So just by default, the moment when you've gone, oh, this guy hasn't moved for 90 seconds, we should probably assume that something might have gone on there that wasn't supposed to happen. And maybe every once in a while it will turn out that, oh no, he just like hit his head hard as he fell and it wasn't the fault of the, you know, the defensive player or whatever. But if you're going to err on that side, I think that's the better way to make the mistake versus potentially having people have very, very serious injuries. I mean, for starters, he was out for the game. He's probably going to be out for the next couple of weeks. And out of it, all they got was an incomplete pass. And also, he had caught the ball, so the only thing that stopped him from catching the ball was the fact that he was knocked unconscious. Had it not been for that fact, it was going to be a 30-yard completion at a very crucial stage in the game for the Titans.
Yeah, that seems dumb. Like the idea that like he's lost control of the ball, but simultaneously he's also like lost control of like his bodily functions. Like he's got no ability to do.
He also shat himself as well. Yeah,
he voided his bowels as he fell.
But and I don't think the Titans Bengals games deserves too much attention. I will say I'm not out on the Titans in the sense that A, I'm not going to overreact to one game, and B,
about two games.
But yeah, true. But fundamentally, to me, their defense looked so bad that it is impossible for me to see them having a deep playoff run because the Bengals just move the ball on them with ease. And I know that the Bengals are not a terrible offense, but still, it was just they could not get a stop. Even every time they needed one, they could not get a stop. And
yeah,
I just don't see how, when they go into the playoffs, though, I don't see how it works.
I think there was like 4 or 5 Bengals receivers that averaged about 9 or 10 yards and had about 5 or 6 receptions each. They just moved it so easily. It's pretty like chastening for the Titans now because they went into that match with the Steelers and it's like undefeated team. And then all of a sudden they've lost 2 on the bounce and it just feels, I don't know, it just feels like that gas is just kind of like they've run out now. And maybe it's kind of,
I mean, they've lost
similar
from the division,
Bears
right?
in a way. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and for me, it's that thing where, like Eddie's saying, the defense just looked miserable. And I take the Chiefs as a great example. The Chiefs are an amazing offense, but their defense isn't terrible, and they can make stops when they need to make stops. There's a few instances where, you know, a game will be close, or even when they're down in a game, and you're saying to yourself, all right, I know the Chiefs can score 3 more touchdowns before this game's over, but their defense needs to make a stop so that it actually matters. And they end up more often than not making those stops. I mean, look at last year in the playoffs. They were down early in all 3 of their games, and then their defense kind of picks it up in the second half, gets some stops, gets the ball to the offense, and then they're just scoring at will. So you don't have to have a great defense, but you need to have a defense you can rely on in certain situations to make a stop. And in that game, the Titans defense had numerous chances to stop the bleeding, and give the ball back to their offense, and they just couldn't. I mean, every time the Bengals were getting the ball, they were just continuing to score.
Yeah, and also to eating up clock. That was the other killer, is that they were long drives that resulted in points. Admittedly, they did have an interception towards the end that would have actually given them a chance that was then taken away by a defensive pass interference penalty, which was kind of crazy, talking about bad interpretations of rules. Basically, the only reason why it was defensive pass interference was because another Titans defender stepped in front to make an interception. So that left the corner behind him. All he could do was make a play on the potential receiver, who I think was AJ Green. And it's like, well, just because the ball never arrived doesn't turn that into like defensive pass interference. That to me was a little bit crazy. But I don't think it would have mattered. They would have still needed to score on that possession. Admittedly, they would have been on the 30 or something. They would have needed to score quickly and then got the ball back and then scored again. So it probably didn't impact the game, but it was another bad call.
Yeah, and I think the other team you can kind of bring into this similar situation maybe might be the Packers. And it's kind of starting to show that their defense might really be an issue here, because this was the first game where their offense couldn't keep up with the other team because their defense was just letting them down. There was a time when the Vikings had scored touchdowns on the first 4 possessions they've had the ball. And not only were they touchdowns, they were long, time-consuming drives of like 5, 6, 7 minutes. I mean, the Vikings only had the ball twice in the first half and scored touchdowns on both, and then scored touchdowns on the first 2 drives of the second half as well. So I think that's another team now where I don't know. It's tough for me to see them being a team that can go all the way.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Here's the interesting thing. So the Packers' next game is against the Niners. That's now a huge game for both teams in terms of what their playoff shakeup looks like. That's the Thursday night game.
Yeah. Do you mean for playoffs and then for the Niners for draft pick?
Yeah, to see who they get to replace Jimmy G. But the interesting thing there is, not that I'm going to say now that I'm picking the Niners, although I might be. If the Packers lose that, and say the Bears lose, are the Vikings back in the race to win that division?
Yeah. I mean, we've said this weekend after.
My IV bags might be looking pretty full for a while.
You know, they're not a terrible team. Like, I still kind of don't understand why they're 2-5, because they haven't lost much from last year, right? And last year they were a playoff team. So, I mean, maybe they just took a while to catch stride, and maybe now they're kind of getting hot. The issue is going to be, you know, you're looking at a team with already 5 losses. You can probably only give up 1 to 2 more, maybe, right?
Maybe, but I mean, here's the interesting thing. Just looking ahead, if you look at the next 3 games, the Bears play the Titans. Very possible they lose that. The Bears then play the Vikings. So obviously that's, you know, the Vikings have to win it. They in the process then hand a loss to the Bears. And then they play the Cowboys, which has to be a win based on, unless something changes in the quarterback position for the Cowboys.
No.
I mean, so, and then the Bears play the Packers. So there is a scenario in which 3 weeks from now, we're maybe looking at the Vikings being 2 games off the lead in that division. And that could make things interesting.
Well, they're only 3 off it now.
True. So maybe even 1 game back if things really went their way. I guess not, because someone has to win. Someone has to win from the Packers-Bears game. So
they could tie. Well, the Bears almost tied last night. So
okay, I got one. That game was atrocious. We'll just start there. I've got two things to say from that. One, we don't need breaking news that Drew Brees has broken the career touchdown record when he is competing against another. Like, he took the record from a player who's playing tonight in Tom Brady.
Are we going to see breaking news tonight that Brady's taking it back?
It has to be. Like, literally, it was popping up on the like
breaking news. I'm so glad you said this.
I was like, ooh, part of me at first was like, oh, something horrible in the world has happened, right? So that's my initial thought. Is like breaking news, like 55 dead, you know, like this is the first thing.
You default straight to like terror attack or tragic accident with breaking news.
I definitely don't expect it to be breaking news from the game I'm fucking watching.
Mine was that Eddie finally has internet. That's what I thought it was going to say.
Yeah, no, sadly not. But so already that. So yeah, are we going to spend the rest of their respective careers like just at least this week it's kind of tolerable because they're playing games at different times. But are we gonna have to deal with this? Like if their games kick off at the same time next week, is it gonna be like, oh, the Saints have scored a touchdown, breaking news, Breeze breaks career and then 15 seconds later the Buccaneers score a touchdown and we're gonna get like breaking news, Tom Brady breaks. I mean, it's gonna be never ending breaking news at the bottom. It's so dumb.
Yeah, that is stupid. You think it's like a slow day in the news, what with the complete lack of anything else going on, like a US election, that they've just got like out-breaking news.
Okay, say it when it happened. I was fine with them saying it at the time that he broke the record. Or I don't even say broke the record, took the lead, put it that way. And then having it being like a post-game talking point, fine. But it doesn't need to be treated as if he's like broken Jerry Rice's record and now that's the one to beat. It's like they are going to swap places over the remainder of this season and potentially over the remainder of of their careers for the next 2 or 3 or 4 years. So it's so stupid. And then my only other talking point from that game, what were the Saints doing in overtime? Why did they kick that field goal with 90 seconds left in the game? As it turned out, it didn't matter because he made it. But why on earth did they not run the clock down? So the worst case scenario was the tie. No one could possibly explain that to me so that it makes sense. It was one of the dumbest things you'll ever see done. And even though I wanted them to win from my own picks perspective and bets and everything, part of me really wanted the kicker to miss just so that they could have ended up losing that game. And it would have just been like, what a dumb move to kick with time left on the clock.
Yeah. And, well, also, why did they take the delay game? They had another timeout.
No, I don't. So for context, for anyone who's not seen it, it was overtime. There was about 90 seconds left. They got to the Bears 25, 10?
No, like 10. They got to 10-yard line. They got like way down there.
It was first down. The Bears had one timeout left. They decide on first down that they're going to kick the field goal. They get the delay of game. Then the Bears
they get a delay of game. They could have just called a timeout. It made no sense.
No, that didn't make sense. Then the Bears called a timeout, which also made no sense. During which point it seemed like they contemplated then not just instantly kicking the field goal, because the logical thing to do would have just been take a knee a couple times, run it down to like 10 seconds. You would have lost, maybe from taking a knee twice, you would have lost, I don't know, 1 yard to 2 yards maximum, which isn't going to make a huge difference from that range. And then when you kick it, even if you miss it, unless it's blocked and returned for a touchdown, which is kind of the only scenario you're looking at where you lose, worst case scenario, it's a tie, whereas they put them in a situation where if he had missed it, then the Bears are getting the ball back, admittedly with no timeouts, but still with, 1 minute 20 left on the clock with the possibility of trying to put themselves in field goal range to win the game. It made absolutely no sense.
No sense.
Why did anyone come out from the coordinators? Did anyone say why they did it? Because it seems stupid. It seems really stupid. I didn't see. I
haven't heard anyone comment on it. I didn't really look at their post-game conference. I mean, in the end, right? He made it, so I guess their logic would be, why run the risk? We were confident he was going to make it. Why bother running a play where maybe something goes wrong? That's probably the way they would spin it. But I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen someone try to just kneel and have it go wrong in the NFL. I don't know if I can remember ever seeing that. I've seen people mess up spiking the ball and different stuff, but I don't think I've ever legitimately seen someone fumble the snap when they're just trying to lose possession.
Either. Eddie, you're right. Those are two good talking points, but you probably missed the best talking point of that entire game when Wims, the receiver for the Bears, decided, what's a smart thing to do on the football field? Punch someone as hard as I can while they're wearing a fucking helmet. And once again, we have to go through this idiotic argument of why on earth you are going to punch someone in the head who has a helmet on.
The other thing I don't get about it, so again, the corner he punches wasn't even on him on that play. And seemingly the only thing they could see was that the play before he'd poked a Bears player in the face.
So I heard this morning he says that Gardner Johnson had done something like hit him behind the play or something like that, and then had spit in his face.
Okay.
But what was amazing is he then, like, the whole sequence though was really funny because he comes up from behind, and instead of just full out sucker punching him, he taps him on the shoulder. So the cornerback Gardner Johnson turns around, and then he decides to punch him in the face, and then punches him again in the face.
Well,
it was really funny, actually.
The second punch to me was actually the weird one because he does the tap thing, poke, then he hits him, and then Gardner Johnson just stood there. I think everyone was kind of like surprised. And then he pauses for a moment, and then he hits him again, and that's when the brawl breaks out. And then the weirder part about it is after the brawl, he reacted. He came out of the like pile that kind of came from the brawl, as if Gardner Johnson had done something wrong, and that whatever penalties were about to be sort of given were going to benefit the Bears. And then all it just meant was a penalty on them, and he was ejected. Like that was it.
Yeah, it was as if he was shocked that he was ejected by punching someone in the head. That you're right, though. That part was funny. Gardner Johnson gets clocked in the head and literally just stands there, doesn't even react, and then just gets clocked again in the head.
Well, like doesn't even flinch or move, just kind of.
No, he just. I mean, admittedly, he's wearing a helmet, so
yeah.
You know, like a guy punching him in the front of his helmet's not going to do anything. But he literally just looks at him, and there's a pause, which in the midst of what is going on seems like a huge pause, and then he hits him again, and then a Saints player, I think it's Jenkins, jumps on Wim's back, and then it kind of all breaks out into a kind of scuffle.
I mean, it must hurt. It must hurt his hand. Like,
oh yeah,
it hurts him.
Really hurt.
I thought you were going to say
to do it again, like to be like, oh, that hurt because he's got a helmet. You know what? Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't hit him right or something.
Yeah, it's the dumbest thing ever. Like, if you're really going to punch someone, just punch him in the gut where he has no padding. Break a rib or something, you know, like. Even give him a dead leg would be worse than punching him in the helmet. Just walk up to him and knee him in the thigh. Give him a dead
knee him
leg.
in the side, or do that thing where you go behind him and chop him at the back of the knee. So he had like a really childish exploit.
That's the thing I don't get. If you're trying to get your revenge, you must know that there's going to be a moment in the game where there's a play where you can do something a little bit dirty that's going to go unnoticed, and you're going to like send the message back,
like an accidental
whatever it is, hit the guy late or something. Like worst case scenario, maybe you're going to give up a 5-yard penalty or something, but you're not going to get ejected. But the way he did it, he was just guaranteeing he was gone, and he didn't prove any point apart from the fact that he is a complete moron.
The other interesting thing about that story, I don't know if you saw this, Eddie, but Gardner Johnson is the guy who Michael Thomas got in the fight with in practice.
Oh, so he's just punchable.
Yeah, he's got a punchable face.
He probably wears a helmet 24/7.
He's the only person to not get knocked out ever because he just wears his helmet around all the time.
Yeah. Now, the only other takeaway from that game was Drew Brees looks terrible. The Saints do not look good. Drew Brees looks terrible. He made one really nice throw. Actually was kind of a crucial throw where he kind of, in the end, like he had the most, one of the, and I'm going to say this and I don't want it to be, he had the girliest throw I've ever seen from an NFL quarterback at one moment where he was kind of getting pressure.
Let's just say non-athletic, Eddie.
Yeah, okay.
We have to bring,
are you implying
into this.
Yeah, are you implying that girls are non-athletic?
Yeah. God, Eddie.
Well, yeah, exactly. That might be worse for you, Frank.
Yeah, I think that's actually worked out worse for you.
No.
Good.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that girls. Oh, wait, how does that even make sense? I'm saying girls are athletic and they can throw.
Sexist and a racist. Please tell us your opinion on Native American women.
Well, seemingly I'm dating one, so.
But seemingly, well, like it's unconfirmed.
Yes, actually, this is true. She did an ancestry, and the first time it came back, as her having like 15% Native American, and then she did it again and it said 0, definitively 0.
Well, so she had lost it during the interim.
Yeah.
That's great. But no, the
throw
he
by
did
Breeze.
not look. Breeze did not look good.
And the thing he's hiding behind is he continually hides behind his stats. Because once again, if you were to not have watched that game and look at the stats, he's 31 for 41, 280 yards, and 2 TDs. Sounds like a great day.
Not great, but mediocre, I'd say. It sounds average
But
for a modern NFL quarterback.
You watch, and he's like the check down king now. That's all he can do is complete a 5-yard out to Kamara.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that frustrates me on them. Their play calling even. And I don't know if it's because they're so limited by him. But for example, they had the crucial 3rd down play. And I think they were like 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, something like that, before the Bears ended up getting the ball back to tie the game and get it to overtime. It was kind of like a first down was going to kill the game. And they just ran like not a screen, but just with Kamara rolling out from being in the backfield and then just threw to him in the backfield. So suddenly you've turned what needs to be like a 4-yard gain into a 7 or 8 yard gain. And obviously by that point too, the Bears could just see it coming. And anytime you just got to follow Kamara wherever he's going, it just makes no sense to me. And then I guess we've kind of mentioned a little bit the teams that have maybe their divisions have opened up. I guess it's fair to say that 2 teams took fairly strong strangleholds on their division yesterday. The Bills, with their win over the Patriots, virtually eliminates the Patriots from the playoffs, but certainly from the division contention. And the Seahawks, given the fact that the Rams also lost, kind of put themselves in a really nice position now in the NFC West. Bad game for the Niners. The fact that Jimmy G was benched, and then Mullins looked pretty decent when he came on.
And Kittle's out 8 weeks now.
Yeah, Kittle's out as well.
Yeah, the Niners season is done. I mean, the interesting thing too is their offense hinges a lot on Kittle and Deebo Samuel. So even yesterday, just without Deebo Samuel, they just struggle to move the ball. But Jimmy G is definitely at risk of losing his job now.
Yeah, he did not look good. And I mean, that killed me. So Sam, I had told Eddie already, but I lost all my bets. So I decided to do a nice teaser rebet. I had the Niners Seahawks game under 61. Going into the 4th quarter, it was 27-7. And I lost that bet.
Wow. Whatever you touch just turns to shit.
That was the only loss in that teaser too, because then the Eagles ended up doing well and winning and keeping the score low. But that was my only loss, under 61 in a game where going into the 4th quarter, it was 27-7. How the fuck does that lose?
Yeah, pretty stunning.
That sucked.
Did you guys see that Cam Newton fumble? What was it with like 37 seconds left?
Yeah.
If that epitomized the Patriots in that moment, I just feel like, I mean, just seeing the Patriots on 2-5 at the moment, seeing that just epitomized like Cam Newton at the moment, that's pretty bad. I mean, the first time the Bills beat him in like 20 years as well, or something. It was crazy. But yeah, I mean, they've got to take they need to reboot the Patriots, right? They haven't really got anything at the moment.
Yeah.
The good news for them is they have the Jets next, so they'll get back to winning ways.
Well, my question about that game is, are we starting to get a little worried about the Bills? Because now this is another game that
they didn't look great.
Granted, they won, but they did not look great at all.
Yeah, I'm a little bit concerned. My preseason optimism when it comes to them is kind of waning. I think they are a pretty limited team. I'd put them in there firmly now in that 2nd tier of teams,
Let me just go ahead.
Well, I would just say that on their day, okay, they can be very good, and they could beat a team like the Chiefs or whoever, the Ravens, the Steelers, the Seahawks you want to throw in there. but fundamentally, they are significantly worse than that kind of tier of teams. So,
yeah. So I was going to say the first 4 games they won, they scored 27, 31, 35, 30. The last 4 games they've gone 2-2. They've scored 16, 17, 18, 24. So a significant drop off in their offense. And that kind of makes me nervous. You need to score points here. And to put up 18 against the Jets, that actually makes me a little more nervous than the 24 against the Patriots. I mean, compare that to the Chiefs who played the Jets. They scored 95, something like that.
I mean, here's the thing is, right? There's going to be the Bills. We're going to kind of know where they stand because their next few games are an interesting sort of gauge of where you are because they play the Seahawks, the Cardinals, the Chargers, the Niners, and the Steelers. So over the course of that 5 games, they play kind of the range of the maybe good, bad teams all the way up to the legitimately good teams. And so that's going to really let us know. By the end of that sequence of games, you'll know what the Bills are.
It could be under 500 after that.
It's not unrealistic to think that they lose
Seahawks,
3 of those.
Cardinals, Steelers, and then one of the Niners versus Chargers.
Yeah.
They could lose 4 out of their next 5.
It's not impossible. Do you have any other real talking points from yesterday's games?
I think we can probably save the rest for Thursday because I was thinking we could maybe do, since it's halfway through the season, basically, we could do kind of a little update on, do we have any opinions on any changes on who's going to win, who's going to make it to the Super Bowl, MVP, that kind of stuff. But we can cover that in our Thursday one.
Sure, that works.
Because I think now the MVP race to me is getting very interesting where I think it's Wilson's to lose, but I think he can lose it.
Yeah, and I'll say this. He was not that amazing yesterday against the Niners until he got in the red zone. In the red zone, he made some incredible plays, but up until that moment, he wasn't amazing. And early on, the Niners defense looked great. And then it just turned because their offense just couldn't put up points or move the ball after the first couple drives. It just put them under too much pressure. And against the Seahawks, they are going to score points against you eventually. Like that's the killer. I think it's the same for the Seahawks and the Chiefs. You're going to know maybe you can shut them down for 1 quarter, but no matter how good your defense is, you're not going to shut them down for like a full half or the whole game. So you kind of have to count on your offense being able to do enough consistently over the course of the game that when you do have that quarter, you keep them out, that you've built yourself like a 7 or 10 point lead in the bare minimum. And so for the Niners to have not done that, and they were up 7-6, having played pretty well defensively, that was the real killer for them. So
Wilson's like 8-15 for MVP. So
yeah, I mean, he's on course, right, to break the single season touchdown record. And if he breaks that, it's the MVP race is over. Like there's no way he breaks that record and loses the MVP.
Well, I was going to say, I can see a pretty easy scenario that they lose 3 more games. I think if they lose 3 more games, it defaults back to Mahomes because Mahomes is going to put up the stats no matter what. He's like, granted, you're right. He might not be at the touchdown level, but he's pretty close. I think Mahomes has 22 TDs and 1 interception. So his stats are going to be phenomenal and they're going to have the wins. I mean, I don't want to
Seahawks though. I will say before you get, just keep in mind the Seahawks still play the Eagles, the Giants, the Jets, and Washington in their remaining games. That's a pretty nice series of games for a QB to pad his stats. So okay, though they have 4 games that I think are complete gimmies, and then they have 5 games that are tougher, but still you're gonna win at least 2 of them. So you're right. Maybe they lose 3, but he's going to still have great stats.
But I think, unfortunately, although it shouldn't be this way, a lot of times the MVP is decided by who's the somewhat best player on the best team. And if you have a Russell Wilson on a 4-loss team versus a Mahomes with almost comparable numbers on a 1-loss team, that people going into the playoffs are saying that they're huge favorites to win, I can see a scenario that they give it to Mahomes.
The only thing I do agree with you, the only thing you're not factoring in is part of the Wilson campaign is going to be that Wilson has never won the MVP. And there's going to be part of it there that this is almost like a career award versus even a single season award for Wilson. And so I think
I've never won the MVP either. Think I should get it?
I'll try. Once we get our MVP, once this podcast is really, we're like accredited and we're part of the MVP voting, I'll make sure to vote for you.
Accredited? Is there like a podcast accreditation company that goes along and accredit?
I can imagine all these thousands of votes for like Mahomes and that, and there's always one for Frank Duca.
Frank Duca. We'll see how long it takes him to take my vote away. But speaking about MVPs, the real question about who's going to win the vote for MVP of America tomorrow?
Oh, is either of them really the MVP of America?
For some people, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you guys are the ones who are definitely more into this than me, especially I think from a betting perspective, but
I've taken a pretty deep dive into it, I have to say. I've been breaking down the polls. I've been breaking down the odds on state by state, got some kind of interesting little tidbits when I do the comparison between the polls and the betting odds. There are some discrepancies there. And if the polls are right, there is money to be made by thinking the polls are right. Now, obviously the doubt there is the polls were way off 4 years ago. Now, they have changed the way they do polls. They have changed the way they break down the data. So hopefully they're more accurate this time around than they were 4 years ago. But if they are, then the betting companies are a little bit off.
Yeah, actually, I read the same thing you did. Obviously, everyone who followed it in 2016 knows that the polls leading up to the election kind of didn't mirror what actually happened. But they did say that they had figured out some of the reasons why the polling was inaccurate and have since, changed the algorithms and the computations to adjust for that. But now they're saying because of all the mail-in voting and the discrepancy of how many people have mailed in versus saying they're going to mail in versus people who are going to go to the polls and saying they're going to go to the polls, because there's like an issue where like you could say you're going to the polls, but then things happen and you don't make it, versus if you're going to vote by a mail-in, chances are you're not going to like not vote by mail-in. Like it's all these little things now with the mail-in voting has kind of changed the models a little bit now, but they think they're a lot more accurate than they were in 2016 and accounted for what they were missing the last time. So yeah, I guess that's kind of going to be the big question is going to be who wins, but it'll be interesting to see if this time the polls are more accurate.
Yeah, and that shift into mail-in voting, obviously through the pandemic and other factors at play, going to be, overall, I would advise people not to bet on this because it could take days to weeks for many of these things to be resolved. I think last election, the longest it took a state to fully declare the result of their election was 3 weeks, I think. So you could potentially be sitting on a bet that you think you've won for a pretty long period of time. So in a way, It's kind of a stay away just because it might be too complicated and you don't want to be getting into an argument with a bookmaker over whether or not they can pay you out before the Supreme Court makes a decision. So I think there's some other factors in play here, but it is interesting. And there is definitely, I'll let Sam, I don't know what research you've turned up, but I've definitely got some interesting states where the polling data and the odds do not match each other.
Well, real quick, Eddie. What I was going to say with what you were saying is I read some good things where people were kind of saying, we don't want this election to not be decided on the night and carry over to the weeks. And people will be responding like, no, it's always that way. You kind of just have never realized it. Like it always isn't done that night of election night. It takes days and weeks into it before states are fully declared. So nothing is actually different. It's just that there's more like hinging on the after day counting into the actual like swing of the state, but it's never actually decided on that day. Like that makes no sense. People always thought that's what happened, but it's never been what happens.
Well, the thing is anyway, right? Technically, I think the Electoral College voters don't vote for I think it's still a month afterwards. I think this time around it's December 4th or something like that. So fundamentally, it's not decided until that moment anyway. But what's different this time around is historically someone concedes on election night. So that does give the conclusion to the election no matter what.
Not going to happen.
I cannot see a scenario in which either one of these candidates concedes. It's just not going to happen.
Well, I mean, I guess realistically, if Biden were to win before all the mail-in votes are cast.
No way.
No. What I'm going to say is, being a reasonable person, you would more than likely assume most of the mail-ins are Democrat, because that's what the polling is suggesting. That I think there's like almost a 2-to-1 ratio of Democrats versus Republicans.
And historically too, it favors Democrats historically.
But there's no way that an unreasonable candidate is going to concede.
I mean, he's said this much, right? He's already put himself in a position where he might not even consider leaving office. So there's no way on the night that he's going to make the usual speech of saying, like, congratulations to Joe Biden. You've run a great campaign, disappointing for my supporters, but you've all been amazing. We'll get him 4 years from now, but best of luck to everyone in America. Like, that speech is not going to come out of Trump's mouth.
No. I'm pretty sure that I think today or yesterday, Trump said that with like Pennsylvania, obviously one of the big like battleground states, he was basically like, the second the polls close, I'm sending in a team of lawyers. It's like, it's
Pennsylvania is Pennsylvania is a really interesting one because it's obviously a key swing state. But the other thing about Pennsylvania is they count in-person votes on the day first, and they count all other votes afterwards. And that each state does that a little bit differently. So because of that reason, Trump is going to pay extra attention to there, because it's more than likely that he will be winning when they kind of finish the in-person voting, but he may well lose the state overall. So it's going to be in his interest to try and put pressure on in Pennsylvania for them to either to kind of put legal pressure on where they declare before they've been able to count all of the mail-in ballots or early voting, or in the very least to just kind of maybe make them do a recount or something. So Pennsylvania is going to be an interesting one for him. The reverse of that is Florida, where they count the mail-in ballots and the early voting first. So that's going to be a really interesting indication of where the election is going, because again, a swing state. And historically, the Democrats have always been ahead of the Republicans going into that, like once they've counted those early votes. So what you're going to the interesting thing is going to be is if Biden is more ahead of Trump than Hillary Clinton was 4 years ago. That's going to be kind of because I think she was ahead by around 200,000 votes, then ended up losing the state by about 100,000. So fundamentally, you're going to probably want to see Biden up by 350 to 400,000 votes, kind of fairly early on to have any confidence that he's going to win the state. And that actually brings up my first state where there is a discrepancy. Now for this, I've used 538 because they kind of are the leaders in polling and the projections in the US. Obviously, Nate Silver, who's the founder of 538, he kind of rose to prominence after he predicted the outcome of 49 of the 50 states in the 2008 election. And that's what made him famous. And then eventually he formed 538 for this very reason, and then sold it to ESPN. And now it kind of exists in doing, data analytics in sports and politics and kind of just about everything. Now he says they've tweaked. They feel much more confident in their algorithms and their projections this time around than they did 4 years ago. So I kind of used them as the guide because he got really badly burned. People killed him after he was so far off 4 years ago.
So Eddie, why don't you give me the state and I'll give you the odds on my website, an American betting website.
Florida, what are your odds on Democrats winning?
On Democrats winning Florida, they are the underdog at 27-20.
Yeah. Whereas they have Biden as a 68% chance of winning.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, Florida is well known for like a surge of Republican voters really, really late on.
But it means if you believe in Nate Silver, if you believe in 538, there is huge value in betting on the Democrats winning Florida.
Yeah, that's a good one. What other ones?
Arizona. Let's go home, Frank.
Oh, you want to go Arizona? I got my ear to the ground in Arizona. Let me tell you guys. Arizona is currently, the Democrats are favored 10-13. Sorry, Democrats. Biden is favored 10-13.
So slight favorites. Now,
Slight favorites.
Interestingly
Republican
enough,
1-1.
according to 538, 70% chance of winning the state. So you're still technically getting value there based on what their projections are. He should be much shorter in the betting.
I can tell you I've seen both sides of it in Arizona. It is very geographically spread out, depending on if you're more. It's the classic, like city versus rural. It's crazy the difference when you start to get out of Tucson and get out of Phoenix, and kind of get into the mountains and the farmlands and things like that, and seeing just the change in the flags that are flying. Let's put it that way.
All the high elevation places, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It's all the high elevation.
The higher you go, the more popular Trump is.
What about Texas is an interesting one, because obviously traditionally a Republican thing, but a lot of things that I've read recently is that the Democrats feel like that's really open, like more open than recent times. What's it saying there, Eddie?
So Texas, I have as 1-3 favorites for Republican and 9-4 for Democrat.
See, I think there's value there in the Democrats, just from what they've been saying in a momentum perspective. But
I think the thing is that they're giving themselves a live chance of winning it, which historically wouldn't really be the case. So I think it's more that they've made significant enough inroads in there for them to imagine a scenario in which they win. But the reality is they know that they aren't going to. But obviously it's going to. I also think Texas, this one I'm not sure, and I don't think Texas gives all of its electoral college votes. Because some states, right, you win the state outright, you get all the electoral college votes. Some other states, they break it down based on the percentage of votes that you win. I think Texas does it as a percentage of votes that you win. So I think in that respect, the Democrats gaining ground will be beneficial to Biden's electoral college count.
What's the percentage chance?
No, they're a take-all state, Eddie.
No, then ignore everything I just said.
I think so. I think it says it's a take-all state.
Well, then in that case, there must be the percentage chance. They've got Trump at 61%. So fairly heavy favorite.
So again, the odds though give you some value in Biden there.
I looked through. This is the interesting thing. I looked through the odds. There was never value in Trump. So every scenario, everything you look at, like there's no moment in which the Trump has better odds than the polling and the statistics would indicate. Now that might mean the betting companies, which sometimes happens, have their ear to the ground and are getting better information, or they're obviously somewhat being affected by the way money is coming, right? Which again can be its own indicator as to how people are voting.
Well, what about what people are calling the swing state in Pennsylvania? What does 538 have on that?
They have Biden at 86%. They are basically calling it for Biden.
They're calling it, yeah.
Wow, there's actually value in that then, because he's 5-9 to win that.
Yeah,
and so
that's good value.
Yeah.
Now the downside is, right, you can't combine these things. So
nope. Singles only.
Yeah. It's so annoying. I tried to put so many accumulators on that ended with like Biden or
no, you can do that. You can do that in some places. But what I mean is you can't combine. You can't be like, I'm going to bet. Now they might put the bet together for you if you asked it, but you couldn't do like Biden to win Florida, Pennsylvania, and Arizona. Like they won't let you throw those all in again because they'll kind of see them as related events, right?
Yeah. What did you see that someone put $1 million euro bet on, or $1 million bet, sorry, on Biden to win?
I didn't. At what odds? Like 1 to 2?
I think the return they would get is 1.54. So yeah, whatever. But that's going to be like shading, maybe like 8 to 15 or something like that. But yeah, someone put $1 million. And obviously what you were saying last time about the book is expected to be like over $1 billion on the election. I didn't realize apparently it's illegal to bet on politics in the US. So even though they've relaxed the law, you're not allowed to bet on like politics within the USA.
And that is the other interesting.
Money is global.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was specifically the biggest book, right? That was specifically Betfair. So that's UK takings they were talking about. The interesting one on Betfair is that, which I've done in previous elections, they do live betting. Like it goes constantly. So you can bet on the state as things come in. So you could start to see, maybe early results coming out of certain counties or certain parts of the state. And you can see how the odds adjust.
And if you know those counties well enough, even if it's like not the way that you're betting, if it's like, if there's less dominance than should be anticipated, then you can anticipate the rest of the state would like be the other way. That'd be pretty interesting if you really knew your shit.
Yeah,
100%.
You can do that in the UK really well.
Yeah. Okay, here's
constituencies.
Here's a good one I have. All right, I'm gonna name off some states. It's Biden to win the battleground states, and you have to do the exact number of states he's going to win. So you can't do like over 3, over 4. So here are the 10. You tell me how many of these 10 he'll win, and I can tell you what the odds are. Ready?
All right.
Okay.
Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin.
So I'm doing this based on how many I think he will win, or how many
either one. Do you want to do either how many he'll win, or how many? How many you think, or how many 538 says?
I think he'll win 8 of those.
I actually, whilst I was counting, I went up to 7.
Okay, so 7 would be 6 to 1, 8 would be 5 to 1.
What's the number with the shortest odds?
8 at 5 to 1.
What's him winning all 10? What are those?
6 to 1.
Interesting. I think if you look at 538, I think has a slight edge in all of those states. So if you listen to them, he should be winning all 10. This is the interesting thing. If you look at the 538, they have Trump winning 22 states, and Biden obviously winning 28. To me, the interesting one, then looking at the value, they have Biden as a 90% chance of winning this election, which again, huge discrepancy in the odds when you think that he's around 1 to 2 everywhere. Yeah. The other thing to me that was interesting is that that from their projections, the average number of electoral college votes that Biden gets is 349. Now, when you look at the over-under that most places have on what the number of electoral college votes he wins, the over-under is around 310, 311 in most places.
Oh, so they're clearing it.
So again, on that basis, you should be going over on the electoral college votes. It should be easy. Now, they maybe said the same thing last time around, so it might be a big loser. But based on that, it seems that similarly, the other interesting thing I did look at, kind of along.
So wait, real quick, if that's that, then what would the margin of victory be in electoral votes?
His margin of victory will be 160.
160. Democratic 160 is 5 to 1. You can get 150 to 209 as your margin of victory for 5 to 1.
That seems
it's actually not a bad bet.
Yeah. Based on that, if 538 are right? Like if 538 are right based on this and you just back them, you clean up tomorrow or sometime in the next 3 months.
And then the one below that, if you still think Biden's going to win, from 100 to 149 would be 7 to 1.
That's some great value there.
That was the other area I saw as interesting value is you can do betting on the number of states that Biden will win. And so obviously they project him to win 28. Now you can bet on Bet365 You can bet on him winning 26 or 27 at 7-2. And you could bet on him winning 28 or 29 at 9-2. So you'd fundamentally have that nice range of 4 right around where they're projecting, and you'd still have decent odds.
Unless their projections are completely off again this year, and you lose all your money.
Yes.
Yeah, but they can't get it wrong constantly. And also, truth be told, you actually look at it, they weren't that wrong. Like, it's a bit of obviously, I think people were more shocked at Trump winning, but they did massively predict the popular vote for Clinton around the 3 million mark that she did pick up. They just openly got things wrong with things like educated voters in a few of the key states where they did get it wrong in the battleground swing states. So with polling margins of error as well, they weren't actually as wrong as people suggested. I just think it's really shocking that you saw Trump win.
No, yeah, you're right. That fundamentally, if you look across the board, they weren't that far off. The interesting thing there is when you're touching on popular vote aspects, one of the things I did think that was interesting, you look through a chart that they have. They show how key the popular vote, winning the popular vote is to Biden. I mean, obviously, everyone expects him to win the popular vote, but that he actually needs to win it quite significantly. Because when they look at it, if he only wins the popular vote by 2 to 3%, which would sound quite comfortable, but it means they then project his chances of winning the election itself drops to 41%.
Wow. It's crazy how you've got a system that so many people nationwide could vote for one person by like in the millions more, but ultimately it doesn't matter as much because fundamentally it just matters in a few places. Like I get it that the British election like constituencies are a little bit similar, but everything there is first past the post, right? It's just basically you need 50% plus 1 vote to get the seat. So whereas here it's like you could have Biden winning quite easily with 4 to 5 million more votes and yet still lose. It just seems crazy, you know.
It does. And look, I don't think the electoral college system is perfect. I also don't think that a straight first past the post on popular voting, like the popular vote nationwide, would be great either, because I think it would make very silent minorities in the US. So I can understand, I think the electoral college system has to be tweaked to be more representative of, they're trying to strike that balance, right? You don't want New York and California deciding who the president is, which would be the risk if you just make it come down to the popular vote. At the same time, you don't want people in New York and California to feel as if their vote then seemingly doesn't matter, because the electoral college system means that the combination of all of those middle American states is more important than they are. It's a difficult balance to strike, and I think the system isn't perfect as it is, but I also don't think the reform would be to go to a purely first past the post system.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite a dated system anyway, but Frank, have you boarded up your home? Are you ready for the riots over the next coming weeks and days?
Yeah, we have bars on our windows, so I think we'll be okay. Just tells you the neighborhood we live in.
So you've always had the bars, or is that a recent thing?
Yeah, no, we've always had the bars.
Okay.
I mean, that's going to be the killer, right? Is there's going to be protests. There will be protests and anger regardless of who wins. It's just going to maybe change where that protesting and anger takes place. But matter what.
And let's also say rioting as well. Not protests and anger, but maybe just rioting and excitement could also be a possibility.
Rioting.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And excitement. There's somehow joy that people get really excited, so they loot.
Oh, yeah. Or put it this way.
I could say it. Think about when people when people win like NBA championships and the city's on fire, you know?
Yeah. No, there will definitely be people too taking advantage if suddenly people took to the streets to celebrate either outcome. There's going to be people who take advantage of that by seeing this as their moment to steal a new flat screen TV. So that's always going to happen on either side. But it's going to be interesting to watch. I'm happy I'm not in America and I get to watch from the sidelines, but we'll see what happens.
As while the US burns, we just watch it from Europe.
Yeah, I don't know if we're much better off. I think we got plenty of problems of our own. So
well, you guys can go F yourselves because you'll have to watch it in your lockdown, pussies.
yeah, in our lockdowns while we got terrorist attacks going on. So I'm not sure which scenario is better.
At least you're locked down though, Eddie.
That's true. My odds of being killed by a terrorist are very low right now.
Unless it's a really coordinated attack on your house. Like, they heard what you said a few weeks ago, and they're out now. They're out to get you. You lock
then
up
you
those
know what?
doors,
I'll
put
tell
bars
them.
on.
Bring it on.
Just you out the window. Just come and get me.
Are you even going to be able to watch it live, Eddie, with your shitty internet?
I will, but the issue is I'll probably get the actual, if we think that the results itself are going to take, a few days, I'll probably get the results in time for the next election.
I just like this idea that they've always talked about these like lawyers, like basically they just put hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lawyers and they just deploy them across the country like they're in some sort of like battle bus, or like they parachute them in. They're just like, I need 10 lawyers in Pennsylvania, and then they just like airdrop lawyers into these specific places. Like that's what I find crazy about this kind of US election. And it's just everything seems to eventually be one big giant lawsuit. Like, there's one at the moment in like I can't remember where, I think it's like Texas, I think it is, like this kind of suburb of Dallas where the Republicans are trying to get 120,000 walk-in votes like stricken from the record because they're saying like irregularities and things like that. But it's consequently in a heavily Democrat voting area, and it's just like if it happens at the small level, like outside a city, and then you do that nationwide, it's an insane amount of like legal deployment.
I think it was, if this is the one you're referring to, it was because they were doing drive-through votes. They had set up like a drive-through station because of like COVID. So instead of like queuing up and going into like a building to cast your vote, you would drive up basically to a booth and then just do your voting there in your car with the booth next to it. And that's what they were calling illegal because of some rule that like it's against the Constitution to like drive up and vote or something like that. It was like the argument was pretty funny.
In fairness, they're right. I mean, George Washington never voted in a drive-through. I
can imagine this kind of like horse-drawn carriage equivalent of a drive-through.
Exactly. And
George Washington never ordered McDonald's through a drive-through.
And then you got one vote for all of your horses. That was the other thing.
But not women.
No, exactly. Or blacks.
Yeah, black women couldn't vote. But if you had a lot of horses,
the days.
It was a better time.
Yes. Yeah. I thought that was an interesting thing too, because Justin Clark, who's a Trump political advisor, as part of the fallout from various things they've been trying to do to, already complain about the voting system, he said traditionally it's always been Republicans suppressing votes in places. I thought it was a very a revealing, honest bit of sort of misspeak on his part in a sense of trying to make a point.
Well, he's basically just implying that they shouldn't be doing it this way round.
Yes. Normally it's me who rapes people. Come on, guys.
Stop stealing my thunder.
But now, it's going to be interesting.
I like watching it. It's good fun. I always enjoy like an election night.
You know what I also enjoy watching is the technology.
Oh,
you really go all in on the technology, and it's so unnecessarily like animated. It's just funny to see them mess up because they're having like these animations that are completely unnecessary, and it's just a clusterfuck on their screen. I love it.
Yeah, when they've got like Wolf Blitzer going like full Minority Report in front of you, and he's trying to like declare a new state. No, it is good. I think the downside is they should like look at what the NFL does, and they should do those really bad graphics, like the ESPN cartoons. They should have
animations.
a Trump animation, like running over Joe Biden in Pennsylvania. Now, I think what is kind of universal, though, right, is a lot of people have complained that neither one of these candidates would be their first choice, regardless of how they're going to end up voting. So, interesting thing is, I thought, if you could have a presidential and vice presidential ticket, but involving current or former professional athletes, who would be your ideal ticket and why? Sam, what do you think?
I had, when I thought about this, I did think of like clarification questions. Do you want them to be a serious ticket, or are you just thinking like who could give the most like personality to it, or who could be the most hilarious in the office? Like, are you
try and convince me? Try and convince me.
Ticket.
Dream ticket. Maybe you think they could really win. Maybe you think they would just be the best outcome. Try and convince me and try and convince Frank that if we could, that we should vote for them.
I would go. There was something a little bit serious with this one, but Tiger Woods, I think, would be I know, but this is the point, right? Because I think with Tiger Woods, right, there is a great story about him, like redefine the game. It's like fantastic.
Sam,
you could bring
I'll cut you here. Cut you off here.
Why?
So I think you're right to an element there. There's about 2,000 women around America who've got great Tiger Woods stories.
Who's his running mate? Antonio Brown?
No, but this is what I love. It's like Tiger
Bill
Woods.
Clinton, actually.
Tiger Woods is one for a scandal, and that's exactly what I want. I want drama and scandal in a president, and Tiger Woods is going to give that to me. Like, who would have expected that he crashed his car, and then all of a sudden women start coming out about him having like multiple affairs? It just feels like it would be the Bill Clinton situation where you've got a guy who's pretty competent and then does some like tiny thing, and all of a sudden everything comes out from.
Whoa! Hold on a second.
Well,
Hold on a second.
He didn't do a tiny thing. A tiny thing led to the unraveling of many big things.
That's what I meant. It's like one thing led to the unraveling of everything, and that's exactly what happened with Tiger Woods. Like, I want that in a president. I just want to see this drama unfold in front of me.
So who's his running mate then? You got to give us your full ticket before I can make up my mind.
You're not going to vote for him, but this one, like, I actually had like a really tough time thinking of vice president, and there was a few people that one of them genuinely made me laugh because of like the idiocy of someone like Sarah Palin. And in my head, I was like, okay, I want to go for someone that is just pure character and just hilarious. I actually went for someone like Hulk Hogan.
So your ticket is
Tiger Woods
and Hulk Hogan.
I just laughed so much at the idea of like Hulk Hogan, just these like campaign rallies doing that ear thing where he like goes to the crowd, or like he's talking about like, you know what I think of abortion, and he just does this massive flex, or he just big boots like a pregnant woman or something like that. I just laughed so much at the idea of just him walking down to his music at like a rally with like I
mean, he's got great music for running for president. He's got that going for him. You've already got the campaign song chosen.
I will say separately, they sound terrible, but when you put Tiger Woods and Hulk Hogan together, it's actually a pretty decent card.
I mean, you've got kind of like the face of Woods where, you know, you could probably understand decent things coming out of him. And then you've got the complete comical value of Hulk Hogan. Like, he'll win you some good states as well.
We should throw in here, right, that Sam actually had a period in his life where he founded and ran a political think tank. So he might be this secret kingmaker in politics. Yeah, this is his future role.
I mean, I'm just putting weird people together.
But I hate to say it, Frank. I hate to say it, Sam. I'm going to absolutely kill you with my ticket. If my two guys are up against your guys, you have no hope.
Did anyone pick women?
No.
Ooh. Frank?
No, I did not. I thought about it. I thought that would be an interesting part to the card, but I did not.
But then you thought, no. Like,
no.
A woman in
government? Do you want me to do mine?
Then Frank thought to himself, which one is least likely for me to imagine? A woman in the Oval Office, or B, a female athlete that I respect.
It's called the Oval Office, not the Ovary Office. God.
Ooh.
Ooh.
All right, which men have you picked then? Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, so mine are kind of obvious, I think, because I took it seriously and didn't pick someone who's in a massive sex scandal.
So that's the one you're concerned with, not Hulk Hogan.
Actually, Hulk Hogan also had a sex tape come out like a year ago.
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
I'm going for pure controversy.
I guess the thing, the good news.
Actually, mine does have a sex scandal.
Before you say yours,
Slightly.
The thing Sam has going for him, if you imagine that when you go into a political race, they're always going to be trying to dig up dirt on you. And the advantage he has, if you are like political advisor for the Woods Hogan ticket, you're like, good news, guys. They cannot find anything on you that is
that isn't already out there.
Well, they might find something that's already out there, but I mean, barring a murder or something, there's nothing coming out that makes either one of them look worse.
It's another classic Parks and Rec episode where they pretend that if they were to run for office, what dirt could each other of them find on each other? And there's the one where Aziz Ansari is in the Jedi outfit. And they say he's in Taliban robes. Taliban robes. He's like, I was a Jedi. He's like, say it to the American people, Taliban. That's a very good one. Okay, so mine does also have some controversy in it. I'm going Peyton Manning for president and Derek Jeter as vice president.
Interesting.
So I think you get the Manning effect of just being like that everyday guy, successful. He'll put his head down, do the hard work. He's personable, kind of goofy, doesn't take himself too seriously. He could do like an episode on SNL of himself, things like that. And then you have Derek Jeter, who's solely there to get all the minority votes.
Oh, that's the only reason he's there?
Oh, wow. I mean, that is... I can imagine your thought process as well, going like, I wonder if I want to take someone's stance on immigration or abortion or like maybe their character or personality. No, just about picking up minority votes. You're really thinking politically on this one.
Hey, it's the name of the game, right? And you have to figure, too, now he's in Miami, so he's going to get a lot of that Latino vote down there. You know, he's got a lot going for him, and he's a good businessman. You know, he's running the GM of the Marlins. He's a solid vice, I think.
Here's an interesting question for both of you. Which party do you envisage your ticket running for?
That's exactly. I was just about to say, Frank, yours has got to be a Democrat ticket. Mine's a little bit confusing.
Does it?
Mine's a little bit confusing because I've got a feeling that Hulk Hogan would have to be Republican, but you would think maybe one's got to convince the other, right?
Yeah, I would like to see.
I don't know if Manning's a Democrat.
Tough one.
I would say so. It comes across.
I would say
Democrat.
Historically, no, based on where he's from and stuff like that. But that maybe I also can't see Manning being a Trump supporter. So I think maybe he's evolved into a Democrat. Derek Jeter, I'm going to assume, is a Democrat based on. For you, Sam, I think you might be surprised. It wouldn't surprise me to find out that Hulk Hogan was a Democrat. I think you could be looking at 2 Democrats on your ticket there.
You could be.
Now that doesn't mean they have to run as Democrats, but I do think naturally you might have 2 Democrats there.
He could be picking up some serious, like, Bible Belt Southern state votes if he was Democrat.
Now, here's the interesting thing. My ticket involves...
Wait. Before you do your ticket, I just did a little quick search on Manning's politics. So most people are suggesting he would side Republican. And one of the reasonings is It says get a little more insight on where Manning stands by looking at the people he's gone into business with, specifically Papa John CEO, the first person Manning kissed after winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, true. Not a great
If that's any indication, he is strong Republican.
True. Okay. Well, I'm going to say that my presidential candidate is definitely a Republican, although my vice presidential candidate is definitely a Democrat. So I don't know which party they'd end up running on. My presidential candidate is historical winner. He is going to bring back the respect that Christian conservatism in America needs and wants. And he's then going to have someone on his ticket to bring in the minority vote and to also bring the kind of social activism in that the Republican Party needs. My presidential candidate is Tim Tebow, and my vice presidential candidate is Colin Kaepernick. So much in common, both fundamentally peaked in their footballing careers around the same time. Both famously kneeled. So no matter what, no one can be anti-kneeling, because if you hate Colin Kaepernick's kneeling for police brutality, you got to love Tebowing. So either way, everyone's going to be kneeling.
It's the slogan, "We kneel for you, America."
Exactly. Unite America over kneeling. That's the first move. So everyone's on board there. On top of it, too, you've got the fact that Tebow he's a realistic candidate. In 2012, NFL fans voted on which quarterback they would most like to see as president of the United States, and Tim Tebow won that vote. So I know I've got a groundswell of support. I'll ignore the fact that only 2,000 people technically voted in that. I don't care. I know I've got the data to prove that he's a viable candidate. In 2018, he was asked if he was considering running for president in 2020, and he said he would not rule it out. So I have a live candidate here. He has said if God wants him to...
I have a slightly live candidate as well.
You do. The only one who doesn't is Sam. But you do, particularly his vice presidential candidate.
I don't know. I think
I don't know.
Candidate is more viable than his president.
No way.
Yeah. Could we also just let you know that The Rock is meant to be like a front runner next time out?
Oh,
yeah, but the Rock and Hulk Hogan are very different people.
I at least might like. And then, has an NFL player ever come close to the White House?
I mean, physically, yes. In terms of
they go every year when they win the Super Bowl.
In terms of being president, no. I guess
I'm going to say that I think
like Senate
the closest. I love that you two had this thought about like minority voters and representation and things like that. And I just like the idea of some guy walking out and just like saying like, "Oh, I'll have our candidates on the ropes," as he like runs around the ring.
The issue with Eddie's is there's no way that happens on Eddie's ballot. There's no way those two form a ballot.
Wow. We form a new party.
What is that? The football party?
Exactly. The kneeling party.
The quarterback club.
Yeah.
I mean, the kneeling party could be a gay club as well, Eddie, to be honest.
Oh, then we got them on board too. Look at this. We're covering everything. Now, here's what I will say. The advantage that Sam has. Hulk Hogan ignores avoids all of the pronoun controversies with transgender people because he just will call everyone brother, and like he'll never get himself into trouble there.
Unless it was seen as insensitive because he would keep calling Tiger Woods brother.
Yeah, but it's like to reference the TV situation from Frank, right? It's like the Curb Your Enthusiasm thing, where as long as you prove that you do it all the time, you're fine.
Yeah.
So he just keeps saying brother. It's okay. I mean, he's on record, right? We've got nearly 50 years of Hulk Hogan calling people brother. So he'll be okay. He'll survive that particular scandal.
I could just imagine him at a vice president debate, just like running to like the other vice president and just hitting him over the head with a chair, like from the back of the head.
Well, think if it's your ticket versus The Rock and someone else, then maybe they organize a wrestling event instead of
It
a
could be
Yeah.
debate.
like you could
Actually,
just have a big
it could be Donald
TLC.
Trump. It could be Trump. He's already done
Exactly.
WWE.
True.
So Eddie, speaking of your Tebow being the 2012, this is pretty ironic because I pulled up an article from November of 2012 of 10 athletes who could be president. So this is 8 years ago, and we can see if they're still relevant. Number 1, Shane Battier.
Not relevant anymore.
Perhaps the smartest player in the NBA. That's what it says about him.
He is very intelligent when you listen to him speak. He's obviously
Went to Duke.
A smart guy, but he hasn't been relevant since that Heat dynasty fell apart. So he probably missed his window to run.
Now, here's one that 4 months ago I would have put on my card, but no longer, after his words, can I probably put on the card.
Oh, Drew Brees.
Drew Brees.
Yeah, no, Drew Brees. Well, here's the thing is Drew Brees would be very popular with certain
demographic.
Yeah, which isn't big enough to win the election. The other thing, too, is it was fundamentally, it showed that he would make questionable statements as a candidate. So killed his political career by showing himself not to be sensible in how he approaches hot topics.
Or maybe he can springboard it off and kind of give the take of, look at me, I'm not so rigid as to make a mistake, hear the other side, and shift my viewpoint. True. He could swing it that way.
True.
Well, just to let you know, I mean, Hulk Hogan would talk about like Hulkamaniacs. Here's one from him. To all my little Hulkamaniacs, say your prayers, take your vitamins, and you'll never go wrong.
Also, the thing you're forgetting too, right? Hulk Hogan was so close with Andre the Giant, so he gets to kind of spin that off that he was friends with an immigrant who came to America and made his name, and who was also had disabilities. He gets to really spin that story as to pull on the heartstrings of America.
I actually think I found a fantastic candidate here.
The next one is Jeremy Roenick. He's a hockey player. I don't know why. The reasoning is,
I don't know who that is.
So he'll tell you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear, is what they say about Roenick.
He's Roy Keane.
He pulled someone's suit jacket over their head in a fight on the floor of Congress. Highest ratings ever for C-SPAN. But the funny thing about this is he's the commentator. He's one of the commentators for NBC, and he went on Spitting Chicklets and said some things about a female co-host on NBC, and then he was fired from NBC. So he is no longer in the running. Right. It was actually a pretty funny comment what he said, but
so we're 0 for 3 so far.
Yeah. Magic Johnson.
Still viable.
Next one, Tim Tebow.
Also one of my favorite conspiracy theories, right? Magic Johnson was never HIV positive. This is not that I totally believe it, but it's one of the few like legitimate conspiracy theories that I can kind of get on board with, is that they convinced Magic Johnson they needed a like non-gay face of the HIV AIDS movement so that it normalized the concept of having HIV.
Wow, that is crazy.
It's an out there theory, but of the out there theories, as far as they go, so it's like not landing on the moon or that George Bush plotted 9/11. I can't get on board with those. I could maybe get on board with the Magic Johnson HIV one.
Tim Tebow, we discussed that one.
Best candidate ever.
This is one, I don't even know who this is. Chris Klue. He was the Vikings punter who's taken stands on such issues such as gay marriage and voting rights. He's got no problem calling out existing politicians for rampant hypocrisy, though his language of choice wouldn't quite pass.
I remember he had his moment in the sun, particularly over the gay rights stuff. I do remember him being pretty outspoken on Twitter and stuff. So I vaguely remember who he is, but obviously it's laughable to think that a punter could ever spin a punting career into being a politician.
No one likes him as punters. Why would they like him as president?
Yeah. Now, here's the one thing I will say. Having watched the Cowboys game yesterday, just as a slight detour, we've spoken before in the past about how quarterbacks need like the quarterback face and how they need their head to look right in the helmet for you to really have full confidence in them. Ben DiNucci has like the face of a punter, And every time he just gets the ball, I just think to myself, like, you're playing the wrong position. Like, he just does not look like a quarterback. But anyway, keep going with your list.
Jeff Burton, the NASCAR driver.
I don't know who that is.
He said he's going into politics. So, Derek Jeter. Say he's whatever you want him to be. Charming, gritty, multiracial. That's what Yahoo says. So Yahoo's right with me.
Hybrid.
Why are we trusting Yahoo? I mean,
hey, joke's on you, Frank. Not only are none of these candidates relevant anymore, Yahoo isn't either.
Yeah, I was going to say, if something else has become less relevant in like 8 years, it's Yahoo.
Haven't we had this discussion before? I'm like still loyal to Yahoo.
Yeah, it's so bizarre.
I still like.
How are you loyal?
In fairness, Yahoo Sports is still okay for their reporting and stuff. They're still like pretty decent for that.
Like, I always go through Yahoo.
I imagine Yahoo's probably one of those search engines, like, you know, Bing. Bing's top searched word is Google. So people just use Bing to then find Google. Like, they'd rather be really unproductive and find Google at the end.
So here's an interesting one. The next one is Layla Ali, Muhammad Ali's daughter.
Not relevant anymore.
Sorry. And then the last one is...
Once her dad died, she kind of... She had to try and do it when her dad was still alive.
And she was like a really good boxer at the time. I don't think she boxes anymore, does she?
No. She's got to be relatively old now.
Yeah. And then the last one is Chael Sonnen. He's an MMA fighter. I don't know why he was on there. I couldn't imagine an MMA fighter. Yeah. That was their 10 in 2012.
Hey, Joe Rogan might end up as president. That's as close maybe as an MMA fighter will come.
That would be awful.
I don't think he would have any interest in doing it because he fundamentally likes just doing the things that he likes doing. And there's no way he could continue to like take DMT constantly, sit in his isolation tank and just go hunting if he was president of the United States. That being said, Donald Trump's managed to play golf almost every day. So,
hey, Roosevelt hunted all the time.
A little bit different back then.
FDR.
Teddy. Let me specify that.
Yeah, FDR didn't go hunting, but he sometimes was used at greyhound races. They used him instead of the bunny to be chased. They just used to connect his wheelchair to it and just chase the president.
I thought you were going to say he did chariot racing and they just connected him to the horses.
To the greyhounds.
Also true. Yeah. Champion. His nickname was Ben-Hur.
The other one I was thinking, Eddie, I didn't know if it would count, would be Mark Cuban.
I mean, yeah, not an athlete, but obviously famous fundamentally through the world of sports.
Owner of the Mavericks.
Yeah.
And seriously might actually run in the future.
Yeah, he said that he's considering it. I think he has a pretty good chance of winning because he comes in as that sort of centrist Republican, and people kind of like him for the most part. Like, so, and he's also won over a lot of Democrats, right, by just being staunchly anti-Trump. So he'd probably be the most viable of all the people we've mentioned. But I still,
whoa.
I look forward to the future where the Republican primaries, like the run for the Republican candidacy, includes The Rock and Mark Cuban.
Mark Cuban, Tim Tebow, Peyton Manning, and The Rock. 2024.
That's a debate I would want to watch.
Oh, what about Kanye?
Oh, God.
Kanye. Having seen him appear now twice recently, his appearance on Joe Rogan and then also his appearance on that Letterman show on Netflix. And just seeing, I mean, I think he desperately needs help. He's obviously someone with some slight mental issues. So first and foremost, he needs some people to give him some very solid treatment. He's also just an idiot.
Yeah.
I did like Letterman because Letterman asked him if he'd voted for Trump in the last election. And then Kanye West said he'd never actually voted. And then Letterman was like, well, then you don't get a say in these things. And just like the look on Kanye's face from that. Now, maybe we can pivot from an election that will decide the future of a nation to another event that is happening on Tuesday, and that is the race that stops a nation. Because we have the Melbourne Cup. I think it's kind of difficult for us to do any kind of deep preview on it, obviously, because none of us follow Australian racing, horse racing really closely. But there are some interesting British raiders that have been sent over, or former British horses in the case of a few of them. So it'd be interesting to see if have any of you looked at it a bit? Either of you looked at it a bit?
I saw O'Brien is top two, right, with Tiger Moth and Anthony Van Dyke. But I saw Sir Dragonet was there as well.
Yeah, which is now based in Australia.
Yeah, there's some interesting horses over there. Actually, I did look and I saw because usually none of the jockeys go over from Europe either. It's normally always Australian jockeys, right? Or is it just COVID?
No,
Ryan Moore
usually
goes over because he just chases purses.
I think Buick is a very international one as well. Like he was always in May.
Yeah.
And he actually went to like a weird race in Mauritius as well.
Yeah, Buick goes even to Hong Kong and stuff sometimes.
And so does Murphy. He does like a stint in Hong Kong too.
Yeah.
So does the Doiler.
True. But no, it's just the COVID, the pandemic means that they're reliant. Even O'Brien, for example, himself isn't going over for it, right? It's just his representatives in Australia who are taking care of it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't look too much into it, but the thing I saw was Tiger Moth is favored, and I probably rightfully so. It's probably the best horse in there. It has been pretty lightly raced, so it's tough to truly gauge how good it is because I think it's only had 3 races this year. But the interesting thing is it has a really wide draw, and the difference that people say a lot between the UK racing and Australia is the draw does matter because the turns are so tight, and having a wide draw can be a much greater disadvantage in Australia than it can in the UK. So, but that's not to say that it's still not possible, because I remember this is a while back now, when Adelaide went down for the Cox Plate, and that was Ryan Moore actually went. That was like 4 or 5 years ago. That was an O'Brien horse, and it had the wide draw, and Ryan Moore had a masterful Ryan Moore ride and won that race. But they said it was, pretty amazing what he was able to do from the wide draw. So that's, I guess, just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, it's an interesting one too, because the other issue here for some of the horses coming from Europe is that they are untested over this distance, because it's a 3,200 meter race. So several of these have never raced over quite that far. So that's the other sort of factor in play, including with Tiger Moth, is that you're also hoping that it stays that extra distance. And there's reason to believe that it will. But you are taking a leap into sort of multiple unknowns, which is never ideal when you are picking a horse.
And the other thing too is it's a handicapped, right? And I'm pretty sure I read that Tiger Moth has a really low weight because it's only had 4 races.
Yeah, Tiger Moth is, and I think Anthony Van Dyke is top weight.
Top weight.
Yeah. So no, it's interesting. My pick, not that it's a very confident one, is Surprise Baby. That's my finished 5th last year. Finished very strongly. Came from well off the pace and flew home to finish 5th. So hopefully, if it gets a slightly better positioning in the race this year, then could well win. Another one super lightly raced this year, which maybe isn't ideal. I think it's only raced twice this season, so that's not perfect, but does have the advantage through that it hasn't been hit hard by the handicapper, because it hasn't done anything to justify a increase in the weights.
And Surprise Baby is now the 2nd favorite.
It's always one of those ones I'd be interested to see. There must be, again, a huge discrepancy between like the UK markets and the Australian markets and all that. Always interesting to see what the odds are in different places.
But do you think it would be for that? Because I feel like that's kind of like when Aidan O'Brien brings horses to the States. A lot of UK horses have better odds, except if they're an O'Brien horse, because everyone here knows O'Brien. So his horses are generally, if not the same, sometimes even worse odds in the States. So I wonder if like a horse like Tiger Moth still has, like a 5-6 to 1 odds, but another, English horse, I think Joseph O'Brien has some, right? And
Joseph
Mullins
O'Brien
has one.
Yeah.
Like maybe
I mean,
a
the
Mullins
interesting thing,
horse.
right, is Aidan O'Brien has never won the Melbourne Cup, whereas Joseph O'Brien has already won it. Yep. So that is an interesting one. You might be right there. The one thing I'll say is that I think when I looked earlier, Tiger Moth was around 7 to 1, 8 to 1 in Australia. So it might not be quite as short as it is in the UK market, but it's probably not a huge difference.
I think Tiger Moth's been backed into about 5s at the moment. So
yeah, which seems very, very short for a Melbourne Cup horse, but who knows? Maybe it will be amazing.
And I mean, O'Brien has a decent horse in Master of Reality.
Yeah.
He ran a good race in this. Actually, he was in this last year. Now that I remember, he ran a pretty decent race in it last year, and he's a Frankel horse, I believe.
That is the interesting thing about the Melbourne Cup is you do usually get horses appearing multiple times. So I kind of like it from that perspective, is that you do feel like, usually you'll get sort of 2 or 3 runs at least out of a horse in the race.
Yeah, he got 4th last year in Master of Reality under Dettori.
So Sam, what's your pick then?
I don't really. I've always watched the Melbourne Cup, and it's always a difficult one because, like you say, it's a long race. It's dirt. There's a lot of light race horse, but I'd probably stick with Tiger Moth. I just like the fact that, as you said about the weights, it kind of works for him. Yeah, I'd probably still stick with Tiger Moth, even though, as Frank said about the draw, I'd still go with Tiger Moth. Another one I liked in there was I can't remember its name. I've just drawn a complete blank. But there was another horse I liked in there, but I can't remember it now.
Great tip.
Great tip. It's one of my better tips. I'll tell you after the race which one
exactly.
it was.
You get to claim that it won. Oh, I remembered it was that one that finished first.
Oh yeah, I remember its name now. So the other one was Russian Camelot, because it's run against a couple of the other horses in the race, like Sir Dragonet and things like that, and its form's pretty hard to fault because it's transpired that the race it ran in, like the Caulfield Stakes, the Cox Plate, has actually had pretty decent form with the winners. So seeing it at like 10 to 1, I think that's probably good value there. So
yeah, interesting. It is an interesting race. I mean, it's always well worth watching. The time it goes off at is a little bit of a nightmare for European viewers. But if anyone, I mean, this episode, by the time anyone listens to it, the race will have already happened. But, it starts at 5 a.m. So for Sam, 4 a.m. Nice time for Frank, though. Nice evening race for you.
Yeah, I could actually probably watch it. I mean, I think I like Tiger Moth, lightly raced, low on the weights, but I think I'll actually stick with the O'Brien who has one. And I would go for either of the O'Brien horses. I mean, they're both at pretty good value. Master of Reality is 16 to 1 and Twilight Payment's at 20 to 1. Both ran in the Melbourne Cup last year. And both have had pretty good campaigns this year. So Master of Reality has gotten second twice and won its last race. Twilight Payment's won twice this year. And notably, Twilight Payment has some pretty good form that you can kind of run through. So the last race it got third to Search for a Song, and then Search for a Song ended up doing pretty decently in the Ascot Champions Day races. So, it's lost a Group 1 to a horse that then followed it up with a second in another Group 1. So it's got some good form to it. And it beat Master of Reality this year. So I think they're pretty close to each other, and they both have that experience of running in it last year. And Joseph O'Brien's got the experience of winning it, so he knows what it takes to train. So at 16 and 20 to 1, it's pretty good each way for both of those. If I had to choose one, I think I would stick with Master of Reality, but I would probably throw a little bit on each.
Not bad. Any other political or sporting topics that need to be covered?
Just a big Giants win here, hopefully. So I survived my survivor pool again, but for some reason, 7 idiots decided not to take the Kansas City Chiefs over the Jets.
Hold on a second. You spent like 5 minutes trying to convince. So that was the move.
It may have been the move.
The Titans.
What?
Who'd they take that they lost on?
They took the Titans. I think there was like 3 or 4 on that one. The Packers, there was 3. And the Rams, there was 1. So that's the 7. Yeah. And there's another 4 that have the Bucks tonight.
The Bucks I can get just
that was who I would have picked, be the Bucks.
I could get anyone taking the Eagles, the Bucks, or the Chiefs in this weekend's games. Now, as it transpired, the Eagles, not a comfortable win, but I can get that move.
If the Bucks win today, there will be 50 people left in the Survivor.
Not bad.
So not bad.
I'm very disappointed that I'm not one of them.
I'm the only one left out of all of our people who have entered in it.
It's a little bit upsetting.
Yeah, isn't it? That the worst picker is still in it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, should be a good game. I'm excited to go watch my Danny Dimes fumble 3 or 4 times.
And worth saying, everyone, you get a special surprise this week because we will be having our bonus episode, which will drop on Thursday. So you'll get to listen to us 3 times this week. What could be better?
Lucky devils.
Anything.
So
what is our special episode, Eddie?
Our special episode is it's our first interview. It's our first special guest. And we will be speaking to Zealand, who is a football manager, YouTuber / streamer / commenter. And we will be talking to him about the new version of Football Manager that will be coming out in a couple weeks. Kind of how he got into his YouTube streaming life, kind of to obviously as an American to have wound up playing the game that he does is a little bit unusual, and just talk about what he's expecting from the new game and kind of how he'd like Football Manager to be improved. So if you don't like Football Manager at all, probably can give this one a skip. But if
you have no idea what Football Manager is, Eddie?
Well, the clue's in the name, right?
Yeah, it is. It kind of is one of those games that does what it says on the tin. But look, if you have no idea what it is, we'll do a little introduction to the game anyway. So if you really want to find out what it is and maybe think that it might be something for you, if you're at all interested in football, and by that we obviously mean not American football, like European football.
Ooh.
If you have any interest in that, in joining the socialist side, you can listen to us on Thursday.
Sweet. I'm excited to do an interview with someone that I have no idea what they do.
Well, that's what you can ask him. You can just open straight out and just say, "So what? Who are you?
Who the hell are you?
Why are you here?"
All right, boys. Well, I guess I'll see you in 2 more days.
See ya.
Cheerio.